IoT Unplugged, where we talk to industry leaders, innovators, and major players in the Internet of Things, bringing you the best and latest insights. Tune in to learn more.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of IoT Unplugged. I'm Paige West, the managing editor of IoT Insider, and in this episode, I'll be speaking to Bertrand Moussel, chair of Trusted Connectivity Alliance, and we'll be talking about eSIM technology, the SGP.32 specification, and the advantages it will bring to IoT use cases and industry verticals. Okay, so welcome, Bertrand. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. So why don't you start by providing us with a brief introduction to yourself, please?
Okay, thank you. So I am Bertrand Moussel. I have a quite long career in the semiconductor and the smart card industry. And today I am leading the marketing department in a company called Valid. Valid is Brazilian origin, but we are very active in Europe, in Spain and Denmark. And I am also chairing the TCA organization.
Fantastic. And can you give us a bit of an introduction to the TCA, the Trusted Connectivity Alliance?
So this organization is a global industry association. It evolved from a former organization called SIM Alliance. And we are, in fact, working with all the industry stakeholders in order to improve security in all the connectivity aspects. Every time you have a device connected to an operator, a telecom operator. So this includes many different aspects. So it could be a consumer, so your phone, your tablet, but it could be also M2M devices, and the operating system and the security we have into the devices could be as versatile as SIM, so the traditional very tiny piece of plastic you put in your phone, but also eSIM, which is the evolution to the digital version. Integrated SIM, when it is even more integrated into a semiconductor in the device, and then also embedded secure elements. So all type of what we call TRE, which is tamper-proof secure element. And as an organization, we have 4 pillars of activities. One is to collaborate with other associations. The second one is to provide exclusive and statistical insights. So we are monitoring the market with all the representation of our stakeholders, of our members, which are covering 18 to 90% of the market. We are also working on technical guidelines and also some specifications. And finally, we do education.
Fantastic. Great introduction. Thank you. So before we deep dive into the topic, can you give us a bit of an overview of existing M2M and SIM provisioning specifications? You know, what do they outline?
So, I mean, for the past, I would say 7-8 years, where we saw the initial deployments, the GSMA, so the Association of All the Operators, have worked on different RSP architecture. RSP meaning so remote secure provisioning, so the capacity to have the downloading of the subscription into the devices into the EUACC. So there were a first architecture which was targeting the M2M market, so machine to machine, and then when really the consumer devices, as your phones, has started. There was another architecture for these RSP functionalities, which you call consumer, and so there were 2 different flavors. So the first one, which was more a push type of infrastructure, where the operators and the service providers are pushing the subscription into the devices, into the EUACC, and then the consumer specification, which is a specification which is more a pull architecture where the end users themselves are using their phones, their tablets to pull the subscription into their device. So push for M2M called SGP.32, and then a pull infrastructure where the end users are pulling the infrastructure into their device.
Fantastic. And in your opinion then, why are the requirements posed by the growth in constrained IoT devices currently not being met? What needs to be done to rectify this?
So these two architecture were, of course, have been proven in the field and under fire, I would say, in the past years. But there were some limitations. Where we could say for constrained devices or constrained networks. So when we speak about a constrained device, we think of devices that are, for example, lacking a UI interface, so user interface. So, for example, the architecture where you are pulling the subscription is not possible. You have also questions of power consumption. So there are some devices that are so small, or they are working on batteries. And then there is, of course, a limitation for running the operation. And then you have the constrained networks where, in fact, you don't have like the usage you have with your phones. You don't have the bandwidth, so you have very, very limited type of operations for limitation of bandwidth, limitation of power consumption, and these are typically some verticals of the IoT markets, typically, device trackers, smart metering, where you don't have enough resources to really deploy the two previous architecture. So that's the origin of the SGP.32, so namely the infrastructure dedicated to IoT.
Mm-hmm. So let's focus on the eSIM market for a moment. What have been the key applications or use cases, and do you anticipate that this market will continue to grow?
Yes, of course. I mean, as we in TCA are publishing regularly year after year some statistics, you see a very, I would say, explosive demand for this type of infrastructure and architecture on the consumer market. So typically your smartphones. We were publishing earlier this year a growth of 109% of the download of the subscriptions. So that's very, very important. For the M2M infrastructure, we had also interesting growth in markets typically like automotive and even smart metering, where these kind of verticals are enjoying the robustness, the resiliency provided by those kind of architecture. So yes, we can say that the EUICC as a whole, with the two first infrastructure, RSP infrastructure, is really in a growth mode. So it's really successful. But we totally understood that some verticals were left aside. And this is really the moment for a new architecture to be introduced. And this will be in parallel. In fact, there will be some little overlaps, but this will be in parallel, yes.
So let's take a closer look at the SGP.32 specification then. Can you tell us how it came about and what exactly it outlines?
So this SGP.32 is dedicated to these situations where you have a device which is constrained, again, UI, low power, and where the networks that are managing these devices are also constrained. So typically NB-IoT or other low power one, so low power services. So in that case, we worked, or let's say it started in the GSMA, worked on this infrastructure, which is overcoming these difficulties and making a combination of already proven components, putting them in another setup in order to be able to have the possibility for fleet management, service providers, and other situations where you don't have human-based operation of the devices possible. So this SGP.32 is relying on a server from the operator, which is derived from the server of SGP.22, so from the consumer architecture. So we are not reinventing the whole operation, but we are reusing the server on the operator side, and we are introducing two other components. One is called an EIM for eSIM IoT Remote Manager, which is in fact the component that will remotely manage the device, making possible the downloading and then the management of the subscription on the device. And we are also having another component which is called IPA for IoT Profile Assistant, which is the replacement or a simplified version of the LPA. The LPA was the local profile assistant in, for example, for the smartphone, which was running on the stack, on the software stack of your phone, of your smartphone, and this is now replaced with a very, very reduced and simplified version of the LPA into the small devices we have typically, or the constrained devices you have typically in those verticals of IoT, which we are targeting.
I'm interested to hear, what's the feedback been like from your members? Are they clear on what's required, or do you think there needs to be further clarification on certain points?
Well, I am very positive. I think there is, the need has been, analyzed, and we made an evaluation, different standardization bodies, so mainly in the GSMA, but also in other organizations. And I think that the requirements are for real, that they have been understood, and that the way this architecture will provide the service is really what the stakeholders are waiting for in those use cases, particularly the constrained situations. So, I believe that there is a sort of impatience from all the stakeholders. We see a lot of interest in all the events in which we are participating. The specification have been frozen by June 2024, so it's very recent. But you have a lot of people, a lot of service providers that are working already on it. Maybe another issue because there are some pre-specification type of deployments. But okay, we are converging. All the testing specification will be available by the end of 2024, and we'll have the first deployments by the beginning of 2025. I have seen a lot of specification and a lot of new things proposed to the market. It's the first time I am witnessing something which is so impatiently needed. So I take your point. There will be some small difficulties, small glitches, probably. One of them probably is all about interoperability, because here we are embracing a lot of different situations, a lot of different providers, a lot of different customers, a lot of different deployments, and more than ever, the interoperability, which is our promise, the promise of this specification, will be very under scrutiny. And so there will be some glitches probably. And we are particularly in TCA, not only in TCA, but we are in TCA very keen on accompanying the first deployments and working on this interoperability, small interoperability issues that probably we will face.
And what do you anticipate being the biggest impacts of the specification?
So for me, the impact is that in all the verticals we can have, and there is it's very fragmented. Not fragmented because it's the people are making different bets, but it's fragmented because the usage is fragmented. No, in IoT, the impact will be that with the three different architecture, we will cover all the needs. So I think this is important, and what is important is that in IoT, of course, you have many ways of connecting your devices through Wi-Fi and different other solutions, but the devices that are really connected to a cellular network roughly represented 10% of the overall market of IoT, of connected devices. And the recent statistics show that there is a growth for cellular connectivity, which is now higher than the overall growth. So that's important because that shows that when you have removed all the barriers for the adoption of cellular connectivity, then probably the percentage of devices connected to cellular connectivity will grow much over the 10%, which is a solution today. So we will not only benefit, or our customer will benefit from the overall IoT growth, but within the IoT overall growth, then the cellular connectivity will grow at a higher speed.
There seems a lot of positive outcomes from this specification, but are there any challenges that need to be considered?
Well, I think that in terms of certification, we are quote to quote recycling all the experience of the smart card industry, all the experience of the first two RSP architecture. So I think here we have created something which will probably benefit to all the operators and the service providers that will benefit from this from the future deployment with SGP.32. So the standardization and the certification are totally mastered. Even if it looks like a new specification, it really inherits from all that experience. So again, if I could foresee or anticipate some issues, maybe in the interoperability, because the promise we have been giving to the market is quite challenging. So we are working on that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So before we finish then, Bertrand, is there anything else you'd like to mention to our listeners?
Again, I'm very positive. I think the cellular connectivity will grow now at a higher speed, and for the world in which we are living, working, but also living, because you have a lot of different aspects. So for healthcare, smart cities and so on. So these are the new verticals that will be addressed. I think we can really say that the cellular connectivity is transformational. No? So it's not only a piece of technology, which is your smartphone in your hands. It's also the world we are living in. So I think it's critical for the society, that we can rely on it. It has to be reliable. What happens when there is I don't know, an outage, or what happens with the security? So nobody will try to attack those infrastructure. And so, we have to work on those aspects. So interoperability, security, reliability, to make sure that this transformational movement, which is cellular connectivity, will be enjoyable. And then, of course, some business for the participants. So this is our mission. This is what we are representing in TCA. And if you want anybody want to join, there will be much welcome, because there will be a lot of work to do. And again, about the interoperability, to make sure that this is working well, and this is for the security and the reliability of all the our future connected world.
Fantastic. A great ending. Thank you. And a brilliant overview of the new specification. And I'm sure our listeners will appreciate your positivity as well. So thank you very much for your insights, Bertrand. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
My pleasure too. Thank you very well.
IoT Unplugged.